install these cutouts of like people from everyday walk of life. You kind of like who you come across, and we kind of put at least 7 8 cutouts from the Panjim city towards the airport. So when you
Yeah.
come in from the airport, you would kind of like one of these people will kind of like keep on greeting you. And yeah, but out of all of that, Auntie Maria seemed to kind of like be a
Auntie Maria.
yeah.
Auntie Maria, that's even better. I love
Yeah.
that. And so, how was Auntie Maria greeted in Paris?
Yeah, in Paris it's kind of like even more, because it's kind of like the whole that's the whole point. I mean, it's always right in front of us, like this most of, whenever you look at these cutouts which is being used for all the politicians and film
Yeah.
stars and what, especially south
Yeah.
of India, and where something is part of life and quite normal may not be the
Yeah.
same thing in the other part of the world, right? And when you kind of like try and kind of like portray that language in that environment, is also kind of a sense of like, oh, like where did this come from? Obviously, Auntie Maria, it was at Paris La Défense. It wasn't that cheaper and easier to do it, while what it was here we could
Yeah.
have used bamboo and got it done, created a
Yeah.
structure, while there we had to like it was a different kind of production to make it happen.
That whole incident of being rejected became the main thing for me, because so after that I was like, do I even need permission of people to show my work? Because I have graffiti, I have street art, and all you need is a little bit of paint, a little bit of courage, and a bit of like apologies along the way. But if you have all of that, you can definitely show your work to the people. And that became the main driving force for me to why I started painting on the streets. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Such an interesting story. Like a tactic, like, okay, this is how I'm going to enter the space. I don't want to have that anymore. And I feel like I want to go there and see who sits in the corner. What's it like to be there? What's the angle away from there? Who's inhabiting it? Who's looking at it? Who owns the space or who doesn't? And what would I want to do there? Do I want to cheer people up over there? Do I want to make something which sort of makes you mull over it? But that completely depends on the space.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
I totally get that.
When I painted this piece in Bombay, Mahim, there's this girl hanging upside down. There was this gentleman who came up to me and he's like, he's like, this reminds me of my childhood. And when I was a kid, I used to hang upside down from a branch. Thank you so much for doing this. And he bought me a box of chocolates and he's like, this is all I can give you. And I was so touched. And every kid that went by, every boy thought it was a painting of a boy, every girl thought it was a painting of a girl. Everybody wanted to own it. There's these moments where you feel this transcends a lot of things, and it's when people connect to what you're doing or to the kind of image you've represented or to the feeling, or you just have that 2 seconds and like, oh, you smile, you laugh, oh, you smirk, because it's the streets. No one's going to stand and like ponder over it for like 5 hours. You've got that 2 seconds of split attention, and what do you want to show? And it somehow worked really well, and that was so it was so humbling. And then you're like, wow, this just feels right, this to do this here. And I remember a reporter came down from the local magazine. He's like, what are you trying to show? I'm like, what do you think I'm trying to show? He's like, strength. I'm like, yes, it's all about strength. And it's great when you get it, and you don't have to explain it as well. Definitely trying to push people's visual knowledge as well. Do you
prefer working with graffiti? Because you said he does more characters, and what is your style? If you would describe it.
I mean, describing my style, it's really difficult for me because right now I'm trying all the mediums. I do graffiti, I do abstract art, I do typography.
Why are the alfresco painters in Rajasthan not included in that conversation? Why is the kolam on the streets in Tamil Nadu not included in that conversation? And the truth is, I think that in the world of our ancestors, gallery spaces didn't exist. There were no isolated, exclusive spaces where art hung inside frames. Art was embedded into our language, into our love letters, into the dots of our language, in our sacred fires, in our funerals, in our lovemaking, on our plates, on our tongues. Like art and beauty was everywhere. And the Western world, isolated itself, stripped itself down, art became so minimal, families became so nuclear, individualism became kind of the king, and galleries became more and more exclusive. And then came street art and graffiti as this angry radical movement to take back public spaces as acts of rebellion. But where we come from, art has always been public and life has always been public. And so if you step away from urban India into spaces like Rajasthan or Tamil Nadu, you do find beautiful palaces with gold leaf adorned on every wall, but you also find chalk patterns outside people's homes. There is, there's beauty embedded into everything in India. So that's also where we really try and locate ourselves as a movement, is that we aren't placing ourselves into the history of street art or public art from the Western perspective, but we're really trying to align ourselves and embed ourselves into our own history. Yeah.